What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. I realized I haven't done a live stream so far this year, even though the plan was to stream more often. Man, the year just started and just got so busy, I just couldn't keep up with everything. But you know what? We're gonna try to do a stream this month, and maybe next month, and kind of figure out a regular schedule to do these streams. Some streams could just be us just hanging out, talking about homebrew or something, just chillaxing. Anyway, I'm gonna get to some RPG horror stories for today. Never thought I'd be grateful for being a bad D&D player. Not sure this much of an RPG horror story, but I guess it is D&D centered. What this title implies to me is that something happened and the player was a bad D&D player, and for whatever that was a positive outcome, which is confusing to me because being the problem in the group is not usually the positive outcome people look forward to, but I'm interested. Let's read it. I, 19 female, was just thinking about the last group I was in about a year ago. I was an admittedly bad player, probably still am because I haven't played since then, but only just now realized that this might have been a good thing. See, my DM of 42 male would occasionally text me about random non-D&D stuff, and I thought nothing of it. I was slightly weirded out when the first thing he said to me after my first session was, "You have a really soft voice. It's cute." But I disregarded it. Now, what was the context behind it? Was it the creepy one? Or like an old grandpa basically saying, "Oh, you're so lovely, dear. You're so lovely. It was a pleasure being around you and stuff. A pleasure playing games and stuff." I'm gonna assume it's the bad kind, right? He texted me more and more as time went on until the conversation started getting weirdly sexual. Like saying that I'm cute and innocent and how that drives him wild and stuff like that. Ugh. It was uncomfortable, but I figured he was only joking. Plus, he is married. I know, I was dumb. I was kicked from the group when his wife started DMing, but the text didn't stop. It actually just got more sexual. It encouraged me to do the dirty and stuff, which I didn't do. I just agree without actually doing anything. Then I tried joining a game he was DMing, and I guess I played so awfully that even he kicked me. After that, I started looking back at our relationship, and dang was that weird. I'm gonna take a guess that the wife found the text messages and told him to just cut contact maybe? I don't know. In this situation, I guess, yeah, you are fortunate to be a bad D&D player or something, or be the problem in the party. Somebody in a Reddit post said they should probably pile up all the screenshots of the conversation and send it to the wife. I'm not gonna stop you, but I won't say don't do it. That's on you at that point. But if you find yourself in a situation where somebody's being really creepy in text, DMs, or what have you, block him, remove him from your life, and yeah, don't have this kind of person in your life. Avoid the situation at all costs, but if you find yourself in a situation, completely cut contact immediately and don't associate with these kind of people. Learned a truly terrible thing about one of my players, and it ended the campaign. This is my first and only real horror story I've ever really had while playing tabletop. I was in my early 20s when me and a few friends decided we would play D&D. We knew exactly nothing about the game and I really didn't care to learn, so we just found character sheets online, drew up some characters, and got to it. When I say we didn't know anything and we're not really willing to learn, I mean that very literally. Me and my remaining friends from those two campaigns refer to our time playing them as improv with dice. Specifically just a single d20 we were all passing around and the stats on the sheet, not much more. Leveling up meant putting one skill point in and making a new feat, which was basically a new thing you wanted your character to be able to do that you negotiated with the DM. Surprisingly, this system, simple as it was, worked really well. Our DM did an amazing job each week creating a new worlds we could explore and have a ton of fun in. My character was an 8-foot tall barbarian Amazon. Think Wonder Woman, but with a bit more of a murder hobo. My two friends playing along were a mariachi samurai that kept his swords in the neck of his double neck acoustic guitar, and a crossbow wielding elf sniper that, while being a rogue archetype, managed to not be that guy. Every adventure we had was fast-paced race against time to get to the next entrance to a magical space elevator that would let us stay one step ahead of an infinite wave of spiders we had inadvertently unleashed on our multiverse in a first session by turning on a metal fan we found in a cave that just sprayed an endless wave of those little guys. We went to Godzilla World and solved a murder mystery. We fought the zombified corpses of superpowered US presidents. We even fought Loki for control of the Space Jam talent-stealing basketball, which ended up being a trap that teleported us to the world that the movie Demolition Man takes place in. It was bonkers. I gotta say, even though they're not really playing like D&D like rules as written, they're being creative and having fun. And at the end of the day, creativity and having fun is all that really matters when it comes to TTRPGs with friends. I mean, they're all passing around D20 and just having fun with it, telling like a impromptu D&D without learning the rules. And I think it's beautiful. At the end of the day, it's friends spending quality time, playing something silly and enjoying it. The whole time, I couldn't wait for my turn DMing. I was up next to DM. I had so many ideas. I set up my campaign in a DC universe, and my players were all going to be trying to become part of the Justice League of America as new fledgling superheroes. A former DM, now player, was a superhero that could control his own momentum and how gravity affected him. Basically a human cannibal. My friend that played an elf was now basically Shell from Portal, but a man complete with a portal gun. But our mariachi wasn't going to be playing with us this time around. Our former DM said he knew a guy who was interested that went to his college, and we brought him on board. Enter George the Problem Player. George was a bit weird from the jump, playing a cybernetic gargoyle with a grappling hook so he could get on top of buildings and glide like Batman. Great concept for a character, but George couldn't take his turn without an issue plaguing everything past his first sentence. You ask him what action he would like to take, and then he would start. He would just spew forth a verbal diarrhea for sometimes as much as 5 minutes, describing every little thing he did. I would describe a room full of thugs for them to take out, and it would be, I fire my grappling hook into the ceiling and swing to kick the first guy, and then do a spinning backflip kick to land behind the second, and then I snap his arm holding his gun, and then I'll break his knee by kicking the back of it before rounding to the next guy, etc. George, you have one action to take, man. One at a time, please. One at a time. Either way, I can kind of see where it's going to be going, and it looks like maybe the guy's going to derail the whole thing or just kind of make it go bonkers. I don't know. I mean, the space is already bonkers as it is, so kind of seems like it would fit, but I do understand about the overly describing stuff, and yeah. I tried my best to stop this behavior, but at the time was very afraid of my first game DMing ending if they decided to leave, so likely I was not at all forceful in getting my point across. Me and my closer friends all discussed ways to stop this in private and all took out turns trying to get him to stop. He would say he was going to be more considerate of the other player's time, but never changed. Me and Shell Player even ended up trying to show him how many times he was saying "and then" one session by making a drinking game out of it, but he just ended up very drunk and nothing changed. Okay, so the guy is clearly not listening. He says he will change, but he doesn't want to change. You probably should have really put your foot down and say, I'm gonna start counting when you stop the action and let you know what you can or can't do. Simple as that. I understand you're first time DM and stuff, but you gotta take the reins, and if he decides to quit, he decides to quit. You still have your friends to play with at the end of the day. I understand the anxiety for the DM, and I'm not gonna blame the DM for this whole thing, but it's a lesson for all first time DMs to whatever you're playing. There are moments where you gotta take the reins and hold control of the situation, no matter what's going on. All the while, George is getting closer with all of us outside of game. He clearly doesn't understand the nature or natural rhythm of doing improv and telling a story in a group setting, but he's not that bad, it seemed to be the group consensus at the time. Turns out we were incredibly wrong. It's here I should mention that Shell Player is a cis man and one that had quite a bit of free time during his periods as they were unemployed then. So one night they invited George over to play video games and proceeded to get hammered together. While drunk, George laments the loss of his last relationship. Shell asks what happened, and George reveals that his last partner was his 14-year-old cousin. George is 23. What? He has already told us his last breakup was just 4 months ago. Shell is obviously horrified as they are an SA survivor themselves. His exact words were that she broke off the relationship and ended things because she couldn't handle his intellect. The moment he can, my friend immediately texts the rest of us that we have a big problem. Yeah, that's a definitely big problem. Also, what does it mean by handle his Wait, is that a I need a shower. If handle his intellect is a euphemism, yeah. Oh God, you ever get like weird like? I feel gross. I feel covered in slime right now. I need a shower. I'll be right back. Did he actually admit to having sexual relations with a 14-year-old? What the fuck? I hope you guys called the police. For real, I actually hope you guys called the police for this. Cause Jesus fucking Christ. After this, 2 mistakes were made on our part. We didn't immediately kick him from the group. and we didn't confront him about it. Of course, now I know that no tabletop is better than bad tabletop, but at the time we just didn't want the game to end. We did stop hanging out with him outside of sessions, however, something he noticed and complained about often. I feel terrible about it now, but I decided to turn the end of my campaign into kind of a test for George, to prove he was definitely a creep. If you guys are setting up to get him admitted on camera as evidence or proof or something to turn to the police, I mean, that's one thing, but it's just not worth it. It's not worth continuing campaign with somebody this creepy, this completely deranged, just completely messed up individual. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. So during the next game, I put my plan into motion. I'd set up that a female gargoyle was involved in the events that were unfolding around the characters, but she'd always avoided directly interacting with the players. She was meant to be a helpful NPC that would show up during the end game to help stop the world-ending threat to Earth, as well as a positive love interest for George. I'd changed her to be a very young woman so that when George met her, he would know that she was absolutely not mature enough to pursue. So she finally meets the party and George, knowing her age, immediately begins creeping on her. No, don't do that. No. That's like, oh, no, guys, that's not the way to do it. If you know somebody is being a creep, you don't try to get them to admit to being a creep by standing up for him to be a creep. You just say, no, get out of my game. And simple as that. You don't entertain this thing. Don't entertain this sort of thing. The right thing to do was just to ask the guy to leave and cut contact with him completely, and then probably call the police on him at this point. Honestly, yeah, call the police on this point. 100%. Jesus fucking Christ. But like, this is not the way to do it. I realized my mistake at this point, that I now had to roleplay him coming on to me. I'd meant for this to be proof to the rest of my friends that he was in fact a massive creep, and him hooking up with his cousin wasn't a one-time thing. I was right, but I had no idea what to do now that I had proved it. I fully panicked, even tried to get him to stop by pointing out her age. He said something like, I can teach her. What the f, George? What the actual f? I bet you he was thinking the same thing when he's trying to get together with his cousin. Oh, only kind of thing we need for these kind of people. Castration. Immediate castration. Oh, Jesus. Disgusted and totally freaked out, I wrapped up the campaign as rapidly as I could that night, just saying whatever I could to railroad my players to the end game. Get the hell out of that house. It ruined the ending for sure, which I still feel absolutely terrible about. At least after that night, I was done with George, and thank God, so was everyone else. We all completely cut contact. He tried to get back into our good graces several times, clearly not understanding what he did wrong. None of us were about to spell it out for the guy. We all just ignored him until he went away. Fortunately, this didn't sour us to D&D as a group. In the next game we did, our original DM ran Curse of Strahd for us, and we all learned how to play properly. I'll always regret my decision to test them though. The ultimate lesson I learned here being, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. Even then, like, just admitting to doing something like this with your I feel slimy, dude. I need a shower. I need an actual, like, unironic shower. But there is an edit to this story, so let's cover it before I give my full thoughts. Full thoughts, this is gross. Edit, lots of people commenting the same stuff, so I'll provide a bit more context just so I don't have to keep on replying on the same thing. This happened 15 years ago. None of us knew his family, and he was from out of state, and we figured nothing would have happened if it told the cops, as we had no evidence a crime had even taken place. Just a drunken story that he could easily deny even having said. Obviously, all this could have been handled much better than it was. Like with all things in hindsight, had I known then what I know now, things would have played out very differently. Gotcha. Well, at least I'm glad all of y'all were unitedly grossed out with this whole thing and decided to cut contact with the guy eventually. Probably should have done a little bit sooner. Probably should have just removed from your life immediately and told him you don't want to associate with people like him. But at the end of the day, you guys did cut contact eventually, which I think is for better for y'all. At the end of the day, I guess we can learn one lesson. Avoid creeps, everybody. Avoid creeps, especially if they end up drunkenly admitting to doing something horrible. Especially if they end up admitting to something. Definitely avoid creeps and avoid people that are just slimy. I need a shower. I'm gonna go get a shower. I can't do this. I can't record more until I shower. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.